Mr. Sandman, bring me a dream. Make him the cutest that I've ever seen. Give him two lips like roses and clover. Then tell him that his lonesome nights are over. Sandman, I'm so alone. Don't have nobody to call my own. Please turn on your magic beam. Mr. Sandman, bring me a dream. Mr. Sandman, bring me a dream. Make him the cutest that I've ever seen. Give him the word that I'm not a rover. Then tell him that his lonesome nights are over. Sandman, I'm so alone. Don't have nobody to call my own. Please turn on your magic beam. Mr. Sandman, bring me a dream.
But you know what? And this is really important. Nightmare on Elm Street is also our send-up to Thanksgiving. Have a happy holiday. At least your family get-together is not an absolute nightmare.
As Freddy Krueger says in one of the sequels to a girl who has an eating disorder, you are what you eat.
Thanksgiving from Underbelly and Freddy Krueger. We're terrible people. I'm sorry. You deserve better. Why are you listening to us on your holidays?
They're not. Welcome to the Underbelly podcast. It's been a while. I'm here with my lovely friend, Rainey, and this is Rita.
Thank you, everyone. I know
Rainey.
We live.
Rainey tonight said to me right before, would you like to do the introduction today and the housekeeping things and things like that? And I said it was going to be crappy, but I was going to try. So you'll have to let me know after how I did because, you know, it's hard to live up to Rainey. She does such a good job. She makes it look so easy. I have a feeling, though, that she just did that so that she could prepare her wine that she's drinking right now. She was like, let Rita handle the intro, and I'm going to open up my wine bottle. I unfortunately don't have wine tonight. I have beer.
So, thank you, everyone. Please, if you like what we're doing or we entertain you in any way whatsoever, give us a shout out. You can catch us on the Underbelly podcast on SoundCloud. We also are the Underbelly podcast on YouTube. The lovely Rita is available at Girl in the Moon 7, and I'm at Rainy Scribbles on Twitter. You can also email us at podcastunderbelly@gmail.com because otherwise Rita and I will just drink and talk about 80s pop culture because that's who we are.
I can't leave a voicemail. I am the worst voicemail leaver in the world. First of all, I'm not the kind of person to leave voicemails. I hate it when people leave me voicemails, but you know, when you have to for work or things like that, I will spend probably as long as I can babbling about nonsense. So
I practice my McDonald's drive-through orders 4 times in a row while I'm in line when it's empty and I'm like, why isn't anybody there? I have no practice.
Stop talking tonight. I don't think I'm making any sense. This is going to go really well when we're talking about one of my favorite movies, Nightmare on Elm Street.
Or is it going to go even more awesome?
See, positive thinking, positive mental attitude. I am liking that.
I have to, girl, because I'm surrounded by fire.
I know. Terrible. Rainy. I feel terrible.
Actually, in a way, I'm using it as an excuse to, like, be even more of a recluse than ever, you know? this is like gallows humor, and I'm by no way downplaying how horrible the fires are, but I'm like, oh, I can't go outside. They say it's really bad if you have asthma, so I'm just gonna stay home. As I'm watching Killing Eve for like the third time.
So side note to Nightmare on Elm Street, but something that needs to be brought up. I finally watched A Christmas Prince.
How was it? Wasn't it as awful as I told you it would be?
I mean, there aren't really words for it. Yeah, it was as awful as you told me.
It is both awful and the most wonderful thing I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, I'm watching it and I'm going through this transitional phase in my own life, and I'm watching it and I was like, why can't I need a prince? This is why I have issues with Meghan Markle. Like, I envy them so much to the point of, I don't know. I need to move on. I need to stop talking tonight. I'm not making any sense.
No, I'm getting it. It's like the same way I was when I was watching 50 Shades of Grey. Don't laugh, or laugh. But I'm like, Dakota Johnson, you are the most average looking person in this movie. Why is he obsessed with you? Why? And I mean, I don't want a billionaire who has like mommy issues to beat me, but at the same time, can't I just find a guy who like wants to take care of me? Because I'm so tired of adulting right now.
I'm really tired of my car payment coming out of my bank account every month. I mean, that would be great if it just stopped. I was talking to my sister and I said, my bank account is low because my car payment just came out. What is that? And she said, that's how life works. Your car payment comes out every month. And I said, but it just came out. That's how it feels. Adulting is hard. I hate even using the phrase adulting.
Oh yeah, I wanna punch myself in the face every time I say that, but at the same time, I'm like, doesn't it just encapsulate like how awful it is? Like I can't think of any other word to like just fully describe how it feels, because it does feel like it's an act and I'm a sham and oh my god, who allowed me to sign contracts?
Yeah, no, it's really hard. I think that's why I'm not making any sense tonight, because this is not, I feel like now I'm getting to the point too where the weekends are not relaxing.
Oh,
I'm not relaxed and refreshed by Sunday night. I am not ready for another week. I can barely string a sentence together. I can barely have a full thought. So, again, all bets are off tonight, alright?
I just want to quietly have a nervous breakdown.
I want to quietly have a nervous breakdown.
Yeah, it's just, like, I don't want to inconvenience anyone. I don't want to take off my pants in the middle of Walgreens. I don't want to drive around my neighborhood and, like, scream out my window, although I might or might not have had those fantasies. Rita, let me put it this way. I saw a little girl throwing a temper tantrum in the middle of Target, and I envied the fuck out of her.
Yeah, totally.
When she screamed, I don't want to wear these clothes, and I don't want to wear shoes, I was like, I am with you.
Yeah, I understand. It is not, so I love the perks that come with being an adult, like being able to sit here right now and drink a beer and all that stuff that was denied to us as kids. But that's why we're able to drink beer and all that stuff when you're an adult, because you need it. You need a drink. You don't need it when you're a kid. You need a nap when you're a kid, goddammit. You don't need, that's how you cope as a kid. No, I have a theory. I think that we're waking up at 4 a.m. and this is happening to us because Freddy Krueger is visiting us. And we don't know it. He's not ready to reveal himself to us yet. But this is how he's fucking with us.
Okay, I'm really jealous, because why isn't he, like, sexually molesting me in the bath, but instead making me look at my life and go, is this what I have to look forward to until I retire?
Isn't it something like he creates whatever form of torture is tortured for you, right? Like, that's why they all have different, things haunting them. It's their deepest fears and things like that. So maybe right now that's your deepest fear.
Monotony.
So A Nightmare on Elm Street is a 1984 American slasher film, my favorite, written and directed by Wes Craven, and the first film of the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise. The film stars Heather Langenkamp, I believe is how you pronounce it, John Saxon, Ronnie Blakely, and a whole bunch of other characters, not characters, but actors, Robert Englund and Johnny Depp in his film debut.
There is a baby Johnny Depp in this movie, and I cannot get over how adorable and how young he looks.
A little munchkin of Johnny Depp before he got into debt and went crazy.
And started buying art and red wine like crazy.
Anyway, the plot revolves around 4 teenagers who are stalked and killed in their dreams, and thus killed in reality by Freddy Krueger. The teenagers are unaware of the cause of this strange phenomenon, but their parents hold a dark secret from long ago.
Going off from the Wikipedia entry, it is absolutely amazing that Craven filmed this movie with under $2 million, because I don't think you can film any movie now for under $2 million, right?
And then it went on to gross over $25 million at the United States box office.
And I don't think this movie has, ever not been played. I know it always comes on every Halloween. There are spin-offs and remakes and everything about this, and it's become iconic. Elm Street is, I think, part of our American lexicon now. And I didn't watch the remake in 2010. Did you, Rita?
I did.
Was it any good?
Well, it plays up on Freddy Krueger's great one-liners.
Mm-hmm.
And so he has a one-liner every 5 seconds. It's terrible, but again, I feel like if you really loved the movie, it's a nice visit back into the world. But yeah, it was pretty terrible. Unfortunately, I was disappointed. And then there was talk of maybe they were going to do the sequel to it, and I think that it performed so poorly that was squashed.
Well, I didn't watch the remake, but I can't help but think that what really made Nightmare, especially the first Nightmare on Elm Street, so iconic, are the actors and the characters that they had. And that's like lightning in a bottle, I mean, yeah. Heather Langenkamp, Nancy was just absolutely amazing. I think
it annoyed the shit out of me when I was a kid, though. When I used to watch it, she annoyed me because she struck me as such a goody two-shoes. I don't know why. But and then as I got older, I appreciated her more. Even though I always loved the movie, but when I was a kid, I just was always annoyed by her. I think because she withholds sex from Johnny Depp in the scene.
How dare you not have sex with Johnny Depp?
That hair with that hair and the crop top. You know how I feel about a good crop top. Come on.
Of all the things to come back from the 1980s, why not the manly crop top, right?
I think that if you're a true man, you'll wear a crop top.
No, but I think Nancy and then with Laurie from Halloween, they both made the iconic final girls, the good girls who don't have sex, who go to battle with this monster. And I think Nancy and Laurie really, really, helped create this image. They're both brunettes.
Mm-hmm.
They both don't have sex. And both of their, they both have a backstory within their family that gives them connection to this monster. And I think Nancy, more than anyone else, really, really has this, with her mom being an alcoholic. Well, like we said, this is like a spoiler zone, right? So turn back now because we're going to be spoiling the fuck out of this movie.
I really liked how Nancy so doggedly pursues the answers too. That's really admirable. She has to find out and she wants to protect everybody and save everyone, and I admire that. I thought and I think that Heather really did that well.
Too, like, Nancy's mother is clearly an alcoholic, and it could have just been like a throwaway thing, you know, but I like how everything in this movie is really so tight, you know, that it's connected with each other. There is a reason why her mother drinks, is overprotective, and also seems to have almost like not an animosity, but kind of, gosh, I can't find the right word to say it, but like how she wants to both shelter Nancy, but also kind of, you know, tells her like, the world is scarier than you really think it is. You don't understand what's going on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she's projecting her own illness onto Nancy. And also, I have to say that I think that Amanda Weiss, who plays Tina, did a really great job as well. Of course, she looks a lot older overall, but there's a vulnerability about her that I really enjoyed. I thought that she was perfect for the role. I thought she did a really good job with that.
And I think Nightmare sets up the first girl, you know, the first girl kill in a really, really good way. I mean, the movie starts with Tina being menaced.
Yeah, you would think that she was the protagonist if you never saw it before.
Yes, exactly. And I thought that was really well done. And when
she dies like 20 minutes into the movie, 15 minutes into the movie.
And we never forget her. That's one thing, again, with everything in the story being super, super tight, her death isn't just dismissed and we move on. It's something that literally haunts Nancy.
Like that scene when Nancy wakes up in the middle of class. She thinks she wakes up in the middle of class, but she's still dreaming, and she sees Tina in the body bag calling her Nancy. She's like in the hallway.
It still freaks the fuck out of me. I am not kidding. Like, if I catch Nightmare late on TV, I see that and it's still like, oh God, you know, that's creepy. And it's so overused now with the whole, it was all a dream, but Nightmare, I think, is one of the earliest movies to do that, and it is used effectively. It's not like one of that bullshit fake out ones, you know, like they use in so many horror movies now. It's, again, I cannot praise this movie enough. It is really good, and
what we noted before is critics still praise this movie. They really feel like it's able to talk about the boundaries between the imaginary and the real. It still plays with audience perceptions. No matter how many times you see it, you're experiencing it in a different way, I feel like. And talking about teenagers, really focusing on these teenagers who feel real.
Oh, yeah. And I mean, we talked about like how much of a baby Johnny Depp looked, but he did look incredibly young in this movie. Again,
and he acted like a typical teen. Should we go through the characters?
Oh, yes. Johnny Depp plays Nancy's boyfriend, Glenn. And I'm sorry, he does not look like a Glenn.
Totally not a Glenn. Was that a popular 80s name? I don't even know. I'm making myself laugh here because what we wrote, I don't remember where we got this or if we wrote it ourselves. Slightly naive boyfriend of Nancy who seems to have one thing on his mind. And then I think I wrote in parentheses, and that's okay.
Yes. I remember being a teenager and watching this and going like, why aren't you having sex with him, Nancy?
Yeah, that's why I told you she annoyed me in the beginning. She was always like, God, Glenn. And I was like, you know what? He's your boyfriend. He just wants to have a good time and be a teenager. He doesn't want to think about this guy. By the way, according to him, he never sleeps, which is something really interesting. And I don't know if we want to come back to this or talk a little bit about it now.
Oh.
He's the only one who doesn't have nightmares with Freddy.
Yes.
In my opinion,
yes.
He dies in perhaps the most fucked up way.
Yes, I always was fascinated about that. Why didn't he dream of Freddy? And
was he lying?
Yeah, could he have been lying? Right? And
maybe if I don't admit it, it's not real.
And he's also the one who tells Nancy that whole thing of, like, if you die in your dream, you die in real life. So if you never dreamt about Freddy, why are you talking about this? Glenn?
And he dies in such a horrible, violent, graphic, dramatic way.
And it is one of the most iconic moments in Nightmare. If you've never watched Nightmare, I think you still know how he dies. Rita, I cannot take this away from you. Please tell us how Glenn dies.
He's sucked into the bed, and then the bed erupts with his blood all over the bedroom.
Like a volcano of blood. Now,
it throws out blood.
It like vomits up blood everywhere. More blood than could be inside a person.
And he's just chilling at the time. Just minding his own business.
Well, actually, I take it back. He and Nancy had a fight because he was supposed to wake her up.
Right. Which we were annoyed by that because, he was kind of useless. She said the one thing is you need to be here to wake me up. And he fell asleep.
Well, he was tired too, but I totally understand. He was like a useless boyfriend, and I got really, really angry with him. I'm like, you're so pretty, but why did you do this?
Fucking Glenn.
Oh, but we do have to talk about our main protagonist, our killer, right?
When I was a kid, I guess I had longer nails one day, I don't know. I went and got a manicure with my mom. And I went to school, and this kid was like, okay, Freddy Krueger. I was like, whoa, excuse me?
That's kind of rude.
Right? I was like, first of all, this is a fabulous manicure. Second of all, Freddy Krueger had freaking knives on his hands, so step back. Anyway, so this is very interesting. So we have here, he's a child molester burned and murdered by main character's parents, and now he wants his revenge.
Played by the most amazing character actor, Robert Englund, and he is just amazing. He's a horror icon, and I know in later movies, Freddy becomes almost like a cartoon character, but in this first movie, he is played with menace, but he also has like charm and charisma, or maybe that's just the way I see it.
Well, he's amusing, and he's an intelligent killer. He's not like Jason just walking around with a mask. He's not Michael Myers, again, mute, walking around with a mask. He's someone who engages with his victims. He enjoys torturing them. And sometimes, in spite of how scary the scene is or whatever is happening on screen, a lot of the times he's saying something that's really funny. There's a line in the remake, I forget exactly what he says, but he's like, talking about Glenn, and he's like, well, I'm your boyfriend now, Nancy. And it's like creepy, but it's also the way that he says it. It's kind of amusing.
Yes, definitely. And he says that in the first movie too, and it is like really, really terrifying when he says that, because it's so true in a way, right? Like, she dreams about him, she obsesses about him, she can't
what's
stop.
Interesting, there's a question there, just like when we were talking about Glenn, something that leaves a little open-ended. Is he really a child molester? We hear that he is and they talk about it, but it leaves it a little vague, especially in the remake. And then in the remake, by the end, they realize they find photos and whatever.
Yeah, it's supposed to be, because of course I did research because I'm such a nerd, but in the original script, it was more explicit that Freddy Krueger was a child molester.
Right.
And the movie came out in the 1980s, and there was this satanic panic in the 1980s, mostly to do with children in daycare, and there were accusations of daycare workers molesting these really, really young elementary school-age children. Now, of course, in Nightmare on Elm Street, Freddy Krueger is turned into, I think, like, a janitor, right?
Yeah.
And the kids are in high school. But it was to play off of this, like, suburban fear, more and more women were working, their children were, like, they weren't supervising them, so it was this panic, and it's played off as more ambiguous, and Freddy Krueger was killed with what is basically a lynch mob. And he swore, like, I'm gonna get your children where you can't protect them in their dreams. But I like it better in the original movie, that it was played more ambiguously. What do you think?
I totally agree. I like that it was more ambiguous. And, I think that he did it for sure. And I think anybody that watches it believes that he's a child molester, but I like, especially because of how freaking creepy he is, and there's always this sexual component to his torture too, for sure. I mean, that the scene that you described before when Nancy's in the tub and just that fist rises up between her legs in the soapy water. I mean, there's always some sort of gross sexual component to whatever he's doing. But
one can even talk about like how his hands like go and penetrate inside his victims, Yeah.
Well, and I mean, don't jump ahead to the second one. Okay? We're not there yet. Okay.
Let's save that for Valentine's Day.
Oh man, you're getting to the second piece faster than I anticipated with all the talk of penetrating and
No, but like how he definitely kills his victims, like one can say that he knives are seen as like phallic symbols, and he more than compensates because he's got like 5 of them.
Right. There's definitely Anyway, I think I like that it's ambiguous. I didn't think that it was necessary to go into that. Whereas I have to tell you, in the remake, to me it was dull, it was boring, it was dragged out, and it suffered because they went so much into the past rather than focusing on the terror that was happening at the moment. And that's what the original did really well, was making that terror that was going on feel, more immediate and urgent. Whereas, like I said, in the remake, it's rambling and it's going back and forth. It's focusing too much on the past and what happened to him back in the day. And like nobody really cares at that point. He's terrorizing them now.
Oh yeah. Another thing that I really like is the different dynamics going on with how he terrorizes his male versus female victims. Like he toys with his female victims. He toys with Tina for sure, how he plays with her. And he definitely is toying with Nancy. Like from invading her dreams. They see those like 3 little girls playing jump rope and everything, right? But how he kills Glenn and how he kills Tina's boyfriend, Rod, are just incredibly brutal and just so savage. He just wants to tear them apart,
Definitely.
And I admit I didn't like Rod. I did not like Rod at all, but how he died was just It was terrible.
You're right, though. He really toys with his female victims more, and with it, the brutality of the male victims is on a completely different scale.
Oh, yeah. Now, Rod, again, boyfriend, high school boys are terrible boyfriends. We all know that. But, was...
He's an interesting character. I feel like the movie didn't go too much into, which is also weird. It's like you had to do a lot of reading between the lines with that.
Yeah, was he an abusive boyfriend?
It definitely felt like that to me. He was, like, she seemed afraid of him.
I don't know if maybe I'm reading too much in there, but it almost seemed like coding, because, the boyfriend, played by, Nick Corey seemed like he was Hispanic, and Tina is like blonde and everything, and it almost seemed like she was, doing something that was like, ooh, so taboo, dating like a Latin lover or something, and he turned out
like the bad boy.
Yes, definitely the bad boy, the leather jacket and everything, but
it's interesting where she comes from too. I mean, if you remember from the beginning of the movie, the way that the movie starts, she has a nightmare, and her mom peeks in that this isn't a wholesome thing at all. Her mom's annoyed that she's waking up and making sound because she's with her boyfriend, and there's this weird sleazy vibe to it. So
definitely,
it doesn't really feel like it's her boyfriend either.
Yeah, and like the crucifix comes down and everything from the room, and oh my god, this movie was like so taboo for like little Catholic Rainey
figure, and not the nicest character. He says insulting things, and he ignores Tina when she says that she wants him to stay away from her. But there is a touch of humanity in him, especially when he's scared. We do see that when, toward the end, he really feels like people are coming after him. He feels like Freddy Krueger is coming after him.
Oh, yeah, and he shows a vulnerability to Nancy that he never shows to his girlfriend, which I also thought was a bit weird, too, but, considering everything he's gone through, jail, and how, Freddy kills him while he's still awake, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I was thinking about that. Like, both Johnny Depp, Glenn, and Tina's boyfriend, Rod, seem to be, like, killed when they're, like, more awake than anything, which I was like, what's going on here?
You're right. I don't know. It's basically trying to get you anywhere.
Definitely, and, not even your daddy, even if he's played by John Saxon as Lieutenant Thompson.
I love him. He was in Black Christmas, and he was great in that as well.
He was also in Bruce Lee's Enter the Dragon, and he was wonderful in that, and I loved him, and it was so great to see him as the dad. Yeah. And he's a good actor. Yeah, and he plays a really good fine line of like being a protective father and also being like skeptical, Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was interesting. It was really good.
That's what I like about the movie too, is that nobody seems to come from this, Leave It to Beaver wholesome family that we see a lot of the time in like they all had these families that seemed to have problems or tension. There was definitely tension between her parents that we see in a couple of scenes. He seems to be a little distant, but he still cares about her too. But I just thought that was interesting that they incorporated that. Whereas instead of having these parents who, pop in caringly, even if they're out of it a little bit and they don't know what their kids are up to, it's better that they had these really realistic family dynamic things going on.
Yeah. Her parents are divorced, but they're trying, right?
Right.
The dad even asks her how her mom's doing, which, that seemed sweet. Tina's parents couldn't stand her boyfriend, which again, totally makes sense.
Right.
So I think if there's any complaint about the original Nightmare on Elm Street, it would have to be the fake out ending.
Yes. Which is very interesting. The ending is a really interesting thing to bring up.
And either people love it or they hate it. So, just in case, for whatever reason, you're still listening to us, even though we warned you, we would be spoiling everything. The ending is Nancy defeats Freddy. She takes away his power, right? She wakes up, and it turns out all of her friends are alive.
It was all a dream.
Stop. You kill me every time you say that. And on top of it, her mother doesn't drink anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. You're right. That's quite a little bit of a change there. Well, so the interesting thing is Wes Craven wanted to keep the original ending, didn't he? Didn't he want to keep the original ending where everybody died?
But the ending is a dream, and she loses.
Yeah.
And some people think, not us. I like well, I don't know. I don't want to speak for you. I like the ending. I like this ending.
I remember now. Wes Craven wanted it to end, that they all get into the car and drive off, and it's happy and it's over.
Okay.
However, the studio wanted to keep the ending where the mother is sucked in through the door,
Mm-hmm.
because they wanted it to be lucrative and have sequels.
Sequel bait.
Yeah, I like the ending. I think if it's done too in a time where it wasn't overdone yet, like now that's overdone,
Mm-hmm.
it happens all the time, you get faked out by the ending, but I feel like that was one of the first in that genre to do it.
Mm-hmm. I think
Besides Sleepaway Camp, that was a fake out ending, wasn't it?
I think this ending actually works, and usually I hate sequel bait endings, but I think this one really, really worked, and it's because there's little hints each time they enter a dream world that Freddy's there, the little girls playing jump rope, Freddy's ugly colored sweatshirt, or those, his red and green sweatshirt, right? And those colors come up again and again. It is that sense of something's going on that's not quite right, because your mom just wakes up and she's not an alcoholic anymore. Come on now.
Right.
But I liked it. Now, the sequel that we got, all these years later, I'm still not sure how I feel about it.
Well, I only saw the sequel fairly recently.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember texting you throughout because I was really alarmed.
Was it terrible, or was it awesomely terrible?
It was no. This is the thing. It could have been really good, and there were parts of it that could have been good, or were good, excuse me, but it could have been a lot better. And most of it I spent just as confused as Jesse. I was like, wait, did he kill that person? I don't know. There's just a lot of weird things going on there, and I just not done well.
Well, I personally think that we can definitely do another podcast and just spend our time picking apart Nightmare on Elm Street 2, leave it for Valentine's Day. But I feel that you cannot talk about Nightmare on Elm Street without talking about Nightmare on Elm Street 2, because that is there are like, oh, we did a little plot cul-de-sac and we went back, but this is like, we didn't just make a U-turn, we made a U-turn and we just flew off a cliff because, okay, alright, so,
Dream Warriors, not to get off topic and not to go crazy, but Dream Warriors, the third movie, is much better.
No, but I just want to point out what, I'm looking at my notes on my phone, but, I want to point out what they want you to believe happened during Nightmare on Elm Street and how it ties together Nightmare on Elm Street 2, okay? So, Nancy's family moves out of her house. I don't blame them. That's actually a pretty smart move. Get out of that house, right? The house where you burned a man alive in your basement, of course.
But leave your diary behind.
Yes.
Randomly.
Yes. Okay. So throughout everything that happened, we didn't see her writing in this diary, this goddamn diary that she puts everything in. But when we didn't see her, we were supposed to believe that Nancy was writing in her diary. Okay. You know what? That is as bonkers as the whole Flowers in the Attic sequels. Christopher's diary. I'm supposed to believe that Christopher was like writing a diary too that was going on. Nancy was writing why is everyone writing secret diaries?
I think Nancy and Chris were a little distracted by other things, a little too distracted to take the time to keep a diary, but what the hell do I know? But not only did she, Rainey, not only did she write this diary, but they pack up, they leave, and the only thing they leave behind is this diary for Jessie to find.
And it's not just like any old diary. It's not like my diaries that you find and you're just like, wow, Rainey, you are like one petty bitch. Like the only time I wrote in it was when I was pissed off about something. It is like a highly detailed diary, in like legible handwriting. Like, you read my diaries, I don't know what's going on. My handwriting's all over the place. And it's like, day by day, it's chronicling things. It's like, Nancy. Okay, sure. And the only time she writes it is when she's starting to have nightmares. Like, I've never wrote a diary before. I don't write anything after. I'm just gonna write about this, like, specific time in my life.
You have a really shitty and heavy-handed connection to the first movie. The only thing that I thought was done really, really well in the second movie, and I know we'll talk about it another time, but I just want to say this, so that we're not completely shitting all over it, is that
you're such a fair person. You're such a fair person.
No, I'm not, but I'm trying to be. But the bus scene in the beginning and the end, very creepy to me. And reminiscent of the first movie. It is the only thing that I thought was actually disturbing. Everything kind of seems normal, but it's not, and it's very much like a dream. When you're having a dream and something's off about it, but you can't pinpoint what it is.
And it's also taking something that's familiar, and I think it's an anxiety a lot of students have. Like sitting on the bus is a stressful thing. Like, do I have someone to sit here, someone to be my friend? And I think what I also liked about, Jessie and Nancy's character isn't like, they weren't like the pretty popular kids, but they weren't the nerdy kids either. They were, like how most people are, somewhere in the middle.
Right.
And
Jessie gets to wrestle with the popular kid though. Do you remember that?
He was on the wrestling team, wasn't he?
He gets to wrestle with him. Maybe he's not one of the super popular kids, but he gets up and close with him, doesn't he?
And also in the shower scene. Oh my god, I can't wait. I definitely cannot wait for Valentine's Day to talk about this. This is such a bonkers movie.
In case you're not noticing it, in case you haven't gotten it yet, there is a huge gay subtext confirmed by the screenwriter to the second movie. And that is why we are so in love with it and obsessed.
It is not subtext. It is actual text. It's not us being jerks. It's not us like projecting our things onto it. But anything else we want to talk about on Nightmare on Elm Street?
I love it.
I think it holds up. It really holds up.
It's not, to me, it's not like it's not dated. I mean, it is, but not to an extent where you can't enjoy it.
Oh, no. I mean, like, yes, the clothes. Yes, the crop top. Yes, the feathered hair. And I think either it's Glenn or Rod has, like, one dangly earring that I'm just like, what's up, guys?
Yeah.
What's up, guys? I love Tina's hair. Her hair was, like, amazing. Mm-hmm. Nancy's hair is epic and really iconic and is just the most wonderful thing in the world.
The clothes.
Oh, yes, definitely the clothes. But I think the story, the special effects, and really just everything in the movie. It's really, really put together, and I think so many modern horror movies really should watch it and just learn from it.
Yeah. I'm never tired of it. I'm never, I said before, every time you watch it, you notice something different. It's just one of those movies. I thought it was really intelligently done. And it preys on something that we are all plagued with, which is bad dreams. We all have had a bad dream. We all will have a bad dream. It happens.
And then you can watch it on so many different levels, like what is a parent's biggest nightmare, that their mistakes are going to come back and not haunt them, but haunt their children. The nightmare that nowhere is safe. I mean, this is something that happens in suburbia where it is supposed to be a safe place. The nightmare that you can't trust someone who you love, like Nancy can't trust Glenn to wake her up when she needs her to.
And when you go to bed, will you wake up?
Definitely.
When you go to bed, you're trapped in your dream. How can you wake up? You can't always force yourself to wake up. And now, isn't that really the ultimate of, you being a prisoner?
Or going to Thanksgiving dinner and having endless questions about wondering why you are undateable and why do you still, as you're like approaching your mid-30s, having a mint condition uterus. Oh, no, wait, that's my nightmare.
Maybe those listening can give us a recommendation.
Oh, yes, definitely. I have some like ideas that we could watch for Christmas, definitely, to talk about, because I'm in a book reading rut, Rita, and I don't know if it's me, I don't know if it's somebody else, but I'm not like finding any good books to read.
Me either.
And everything I read is either like garbage or just makes me violently ill.
I've been reading true crime.
Oh, God, Anne Rule?
Oh, I love Anne Rule, but I was reading something about Stephen Avery by his old attorney.
Oh, that.
Yeah, I mean, it's good, but I want to read something. I want to read a good romance or something.
Yes. Okay, so on Twitter, I think Rita and I are going to ask, like, can anyone recommend us a good romance? Because obviously Goodreads isn't any good, and we're also going to ask, like, can anyone give us, like, a really fun Hallmark, Lifetime, Christmas-themed romance? Or maybe a good, like, bonkers Lifetime movie to just watch while we scream and shout and, like, take apart.
Yeah.
Like, let us be vicious and take, something that involves, like, being Catholic, because that's, like, right up mine and Rita's alley.
Yeah, definitely. We could do, and you know what, I was just thinking, I was trying to think of something dysfunctional and holiday themed that we could talk about. There's a lot out there we could talk about.
Yes, definitely. And, mine and Rita's pain threshold is really, really high. Like, super high. I mean,
unfortunately. We've covered a lot of crazy shit.
So anything you can throw at us, we can take. Now, I'm not saying it won't involve copious amounts of alcohol.
Yeah.
'Cause that's a given. But we will do it.
We'll do it.
We'll do it.
We'll enjoy this. As much, even though it's torture to read through some of these books or to watch certain movies, it's worth it in the end for us. We enjoy it. It's funny.
Yes, because she is my partner in crime, and anything you put me through, I'm dragging her ass, kicking and screaming. Alright, so, I'm Rainey. She's Rita. Hopefully you enjoyed our take on Nightmare on Elm Street. Please, if you haven't watched it, why the hell are you listening to us? But if you haven't, you need to go see it. And Rita, pass or no pass on the remake?
Pass. Why bother? Yeah. We've got better things to do.
Yeah, watch the OG. And, alright. Bye.
Bye.
Parker, get up here! Got a fire up here too! What the hell is going on, man? Out downstairs. Okay up here?
These dreams right when I close my eyes.
It's gonna burn off this
second of the night. I feel like $1 million. These dreams sleep when it's cold outside.
No, maybe I'm gonna stop.
Every morning I'm awake.
Did I keep you awake last night?
What's going on? Hey, I'm not doing this. I'm not doing this. What's going on with the window?